Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Space Grand Challenge. My name is Madeline Hott, and I am your broadcaster for the SGC. And today I'll be interviewing Jacob Oakley. Hello, Jacob. How's your day today? Are you good?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We are wonderful. So, first thing I want to ask is I want you to introduce yourself and tell everyone all the wonderful things that you do.
I don't know about wonderful. So my name's Jacob Oakley. I'm currently technical director at 6Gen. I'm also the space lead for the Aerospace Village. You may have seen at DEF CON, and steering committee member for the IEEE effort on space system cybersecurity, as well as adjunct faculty at Embry-Riddle, where I write and teach space cyber courses.
Wow, that is really, really interesting. Could you share your journey into cybersecurity and how your interest in satellites and space security began?
My interest started when I was told that that's what I should be interested in by the Marine Corps when I joined. But
Okay.
yeah, no, I was always kind of a gamer and a bit of a computer nerd in high school. But when I joined the Marine Corps, I got put in a job role where I was responsible for networking and computers, as well as setting up satellite dishes uh, to begin SATCOM stuff like that. So that's kind of where I got my start.
Man, so you're saying that you were in the Marine Corps, which I'm assuming influenced a lot of your career path, but how has that influenced like the future projects that you've worked on?
As far as future projects, I don't know too much terribly. I mean, I did spend a lot of time in the offensive security industry, which
Mhm.
was kind of beneficial based on a lot of the experience I had while I was in the Marine Corps. And I've stayed in a kind of defense contractor role, so trying to support, you know, people that are in the military and things like that through my cyber work.
I want to give our viewers like a little bit of an inside look. So your work intersects with satellites and cybersecurity, which is a super fun combination. But like for people like me and maybe people who aren't too versed in cybersecurity, could you explain how these two areas connect with each other a little bit?
Sure, I think possibly something a lot of people take for granted is just how much their everyday lives depend on things in space.
Mm-hmm.
The hyper accurate timing we get from space is used in everything from encryption to communications to stock trading and bank systems and the GPS in your cars. But as far as the intersection with space, pretty much everything in satellites nowadays, due to software definition and digitization, is they're designed on computers, they're developed and tested using computers, and computers control pretty much every aspect of those space systems. So it's kind of a natural convergence.
That is really, really interesting. I have like had constant situations with my like computer where I've been like upset about the service or like things not uploading fast enough, but I can imagine how difficult it could be to kind of operate that, something that I would never understand. But I want to know, what are your primary cybersecurity concerns related to those satellite systems?
Well, I think first of all, there's a really big concern with defense in depth, which is a pretty traditional paradigm for security, right? Is having defense in layers, but for space systems, that's really hard to do past the ground station. So everything in space is kind of free game if you can get through that last layer of the ground station. The other thing would be, really, space systems are one of the few things that if they're compromised by a malicious actor, like, they could actually be stolen, right? And you would never get that back. So if your computer gets hacked, you can reinstall your operating system. It's still your computer. If your satellite gets hacked, it's potentially no longer yours, which is unique to space cyber.
I don't know if this is like an out of the world question, but like how often would you say that happens? Does that happen often or does that happen like every once in a while? I've never heard about this. This is so cool. I don't know.
No, I mean, I'm unaware of it currently happening. There's very few reported incidents of cyber compromise against space systems in general. But I think it's a really important thing to think about because of how they're designed and operate. That's a possibility.
That sounds so stressful. I mean, Kevin and I have understood that you've written a book, The Cybersecurity for Space, a guide to foundations and challenges. What inspired you to take on this challenge, and what message do you hope that readers take away from it when they read it?
Yeah. So initially, when I first started getting involved in the space industry as a offensive cyber person, it was also about the same year that the team I was on with a company called 6Gen at the time, we won the DEF CON IoT CTF, and I was really terrified at how similar a lot of the stuff we were hacking at DEF CON looked to a lot of the things in satellites, and that there was a complete lack of materials on the topic in general. So I kind of wanted to at least put my thoughts on paper, because I think there's also like a distinct need for interest from both sides, from the space side and the cybersecurity side, to get involved together.
In your book, do you have a favorite topic that you talk about or something that you like really, really enjoy discussing in it?
I think honestly, one of the things I really enjoy talking about is how different the cost benefit of security is for space systems, and that's because of the theft aspect, right? That hey, you need to think
Right.
about creating these things not just to protect them from being compromised, but to protect them from being like no longer yours. But also that because so much is software defined in a satellite, normally if you're worried about getting hacked, it's because of what you have, right? They're going to try to steal this thing because it's valuable to them. But in
Right.
space systems, they could be trying to compromise it because of what they could turn it into, based on reconfiguring it.
That sounds terrifying. Oh my gosh. I could not imagine doing that. I would stress me out too much. But what skills or experiences would you recommend for someone interested in cybersecurity or space systems?
Yeah, I mean, for one, in academia, there's so many, colleges that have both cyber or comp sci as well as aerospace and engineering programs. And a lot of them have, projects where I think it would be really useful if you wanted to be a cybersecurity person in the aerospace industry, is just to start involving yourself in maybe some of their projects, or if a university has a CubeSat program, try to learn more about what's going on there. As far as being a professional, you can always try to seek experience in jobs at organizations that are involved in aerospace. And then there's also starting to be a bigger presence of conferences that are specific to that niche that I think people could attend. Or you could volunteer at organizations like IEEE or the Aerospace Village, where we're trying to kind of bring awareness to those topics.
I understand that there's like conventions for cybersecurity innovations like DEF CON. Do you have any other convention recommendations that these students could possibly go to?
So there's a couple for space cyber. There's one called Hack Space Con that takes place in Florida at the Space Center there. There's the Space ISAC has their Value of Space conference in Colorado Springs, and then the CySat is one that's in the DC area. Also, those are the three main ones that I know off the top of my head right now.
Perfect. What excites you the most about the future of cybersecurity? And it doesn't necessarily have to be about satellites if you don't want it to be.
Um, I think probably it's specifically exciting for space cyber, but also exciting for cybersecurity in general, and that's just what the impacts are going to be as AI and quantum technologies mature, and how they're going to shape the requirements for what cybersecurity has to be and what it means.
Last but not least, your final question. What advice would you give to young professionals, like the ones participating in the Space Grand Challenge, who want to explore niche areas of cybersecurity like yours?
I think the most important thing with cybersecurity is to kind of have that hacker mentality, right? You need to stay curious and you need to stay hungry to learn about these topics, because the industry advances so quickly. If it's not something that interests you, it's going to be a difficult job to be successful at.
All right. Well, thank you so much for speaking with us, Jacob. We really appreciate your time. I'm going to give it back to the broadcast, and we would love to talk to you another time. Bye, Jacob.
Bye. Thanks for having me.